The cash and chairs had more action in the last few weeks since HQ's been down than I've had all year, and I think we're going to be here for the foreseeable because it's still miles away from being done. But we're keeping the videos going, and we're going to go through my new 4-day-a-week training programme that I'm doing through my bulk. I was going to get the whiteboard out for this video, but if you've seen my spazzy handwriting, you know how that will go.
Retard alert!
Don't worry, I have left a deliberate space here for nice graphs to show you and illustrate as we go. And I have got my laptop here, which I've kind of realised is going to be pretty useless because the graphs are going to be done after the fact. But yeah, I'm just going to be telling you the plan of attack in the gym and what I'm going to be doing, why I'm doing it, and how it all ties in together, and how it's hopefully going to make me strong and handsome, even more so than I already am. So first of all, what are the aims of the programme? Like, what you're trying to get out of it should obviously be at the forefront. And obviously, as I said, this is a programme that I'm doing through my gaining phase. So obviously, I want to be building muscle. That is pretty important, as well as getting stronger, because I'm still gearing all this around just general strength training, crossover to my BJJ, and I still want to focus on my main compound lifts, which for me in this phase, at least initially, is going to be my front squats, deadlifts, push press, incline bench press, and pull-ups, and we'll go into a bit more detail on that in a little bit. I've obviously already told you it's going to be a 4-day-a-week plan, but what I always think is the single most important thing when you are designing somebody's program and making it bespoke to them is the number of days that they can train. And I always say to everybody, don't tell me what sounds the best or what in an ideal world you could do if everything goes to plan in a week. Just tell me how many days a week can you stick to consistently, and that should be the number of days that you do off your plan, because you're much better doing a fully complete, let's just say 4-day-a-week plan than a half complete 6-day-a-week plan. Now within these 4 days, I'm looking for my sessions to last roughly an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes at an absolute push. And the reason for having the relatively lower volume within the sessions is, first of all, I'm still going to be balancing this alongside 3 to 4 mat-based jiu-jitsu sessions a week. So I'm not looking to do like massive amounts of volume like maybe a bodybuilder would. And likewise, because of my workload and other training load, I've not got like loads of time to train, and I do find it quite hard to actually just switch off in the gym and not get focused on doing other stuff like messages and whatnot. So shorter, sharper sessions suits me a lot better in terms of my personal practicalities, and then also as well what other overall considerations I'm looking at.
What's that like in the Tesco?
When?
Yesterday in broad daylight.
No, I didn't know that.
Tesco. Duke Street. Lunchtime.
So would you let me know now?
25-year-old.
Dead.
Don't know whether they're in hospital.
Now for the sessions themselves. When you want to focus on both strength and building muscle, power building if you will, there are sort of 2 ways you can go about it and 2 ways you can structure your sessions. So the first way is, what you can do is you can have almost like a strength day and a hypertrophy day for each of your body parts. So for example, you have 2 push days, one of them strength focus, it's all low reps, lower volume, and then one is higher reps, higher volume, and obviously you've got strength focus and muscle building focus. But that's not my preferred method at this moment in time, because I obviously want to focus on a few more lifts. So the way that I'm opting to do this is I'm almost breaking the sessions in half, where I've got 1 or 2 sort of main lifts at the start of the sessions that are like my strength exercises, and then I've got the rest of the kind of volume, higher volume stuff made up at the end of the sessions. And doing it like this will probably give me a bit more total volume over the course of the week, and it just allows me to focus on more exercises and pushing the numbers up on more exercises, and it's just how I prefer to work things. We are going with a legs and pull day and push day splits, so we've got 2 legs and pull days and 2 push days, 5 exercises each, roughly around 20-ish sets a session. I've just realised after counting them all, pretty much just got 18 sets a session.
Quick maths.
So starting off with legs and pull day 1, my main lower body exercise for the session is going to be front squats. So what I've been doing most of recently, and it's probably what I've spent more time focusing on over back squats in terms of my whole lifting career. And I just recently finished on a pretty ugly 155 top single, and it's still a little bit off my best, and I definitely think that as I start to focus a little bit more on lifting and just getting overall stronger, then I should be able to get it back up to 160, maybe even 165 over this next block. And the way that we're doing it is we're doing 3 sets up to a top set, and then I'm actually going to add in a back off or drop set after it. I always call them drop sets, and I've had stick for it before, so if I call a back off set or drop set and you think it's a back off set, then cool, whatever, don't shout at me. My main pulling strength exercise for the session is going to be pull-ups, and same setup where we're working up to a top set with 4 sets of 3, and I might struggle to actually push my numbers on if I'm gaining body weight. So even if I can put on 5, 6, 7 kilos over my bulk and still hit the same numbers on pull-ups, then that's me definitely gotten stronger. Then on to the volume work, and for my legs I'm going to be doing dumbbell RDLs, and the reason I've chose that is because obviously front squats is very quad dominant, so that way the reverse is a glute and hamstring dominant exercise, which dumbbell RDLs are perfect for. I'm going to be using less total load than I would be if I was doing like barbell RDLs, which is obviously going to be a lot tougher to do given the fact that it'll be after front squats and then it'll be a few days post doing normal deadlifts. So dumbbell RDLs will be suffice, and I am doing bent arm pullovers for sets of 8, and as much as I love these for just a pure brute strength exercise, they might actually be a better like muscle building exercise, and when you start doing high reps on them, like fuck me do they burn. And then we're finishing off with some guns and 3 sets of 10 of dumbbell hammer curls, and for those final 3 exercises I'll probably do a blend of sort of straight sets where I'll pick a weight and use it for each of the working sets, and then let's just say for example use the 40s on my dumbbell RDLs, I get 4 sets of 8. When it comes to the next again week, what I'll do is I'll do the first 2 sets with the old weight, which is 40 kilos, and then the final 2 sets with the new weight, which would be like 42 kilos, and that's going to result in a minimal drop off and a bit more constant progression than just jumping straight up into doing all 4 sets with the new weight. Push day 1 is starting off with push press, and I started this just at the last little bit of my previous training block, and I've not had a proper run at it yet, so going to be doing sets of 3 and looking to push the numbers up. And again, this is a great exercise for a sport like jiu-jitsu where you're obviously moving heavy loads, other human beings the same weight as you, but you're also doing it dynamically, and obviously that's what push press gives you. So it's maybe not the most conducive muscle building like a strict press would be, but it's training that strength and power element, so it's very suitable for me. The rest of the sessions or exercises I've not really done in a while, and I'm starting off with a flat dumbbell bench press, going to do 4 sets of 6, and same thing where I'm going to use this to work up to a top set and make it a bit more of a strength exercise, but obviously this is going to be more chest focused than shoulder focused. Then for the volume work, I'm going to be doing weighted dips, sets of 8, which you could call like the squat for your upper body, because it literally just works all of your main pushing muscles. And then I'm moving on to what I just call Arnold lat raises, and you need to have watched Pumping Iron to know what I mean. Basically a side stroke rear delt exercise, looks a bit mental but it's flipping brilliant. And then another exercise that I used to name after someone, the incline dumbbell tricep extensions, otherwise known in my head canon as Eddie press, because I used to see Eddie Hall do them, but because he's turned into a massive arse with a massive arse, they are being dechristened as that. In those exercises, again, mostly straight sets, just keeping the volume high and focusing on just keeping good quality volume. Legs and pull day 2, starting off with deadlifts. Take a guess, 4 sets of 3 up to a top set, and I'm also including a back off set of 8 reps in this too, just like my squats. And the reason that I'm just doing these back off sets on my main lower body exercises, obviously your legs are a bigger muscle group which require a little bit more work, but because of all my training, I don't want to just like hammer the volume with like loads of assistance exercises, so that's why rather than adding in like a third lower body exercise in each session, I'm just going to put in an extra drop set, which maybe won't make up the total amount of volume, but it's going to be pretty hard.
That's what she said.
And it's also going to start to get me conditioned to doing higher reps again, which I've not done on my lower body in a long time. And we're pairing deadlifts off with a nice and easy leg extension, and again, deadlift, glute hamstring dominant, leg extension just quad dominant, and obviously it's the total inverse of what the first legs and pull session was. And the reason I've specifically chose an easy exercise like a leg extension here is because, again, I'm desensitized to doing, you know, the higher reps, higher volume, and especially on my lower body, so that's why I'm starting off with a kind of easier option, but then down the line when I get a bit more used to it, that's when I can look to add like a secondary compound exercise in for my leg. The volume builder for the back is going to be seated wide grip cable rows. Again, slightly easier exercise. I'm focusing on doing this with a wider grip because obviously, you know, the thickness, density aspect of your back is going to be covered in deadlifts, so you're going to just look on targeting the kind of smaller muscles with the wider grip. And that's all the pulling work done, because again, deadlift's going to be very fatiguing on the back, on top of all the jiu-jitsu. So 4 straight sets of wide grip rows is all you need. And after that, it's going to be a little bit of change of pace, because I've left the final 2 exercises for biceps. But what I'm going to be doing on the first one of those 2 is cheat curls. Now, cheat curls used to be one of my secret weapons when I was doing judo, because they are a brilliant exercise for a sport like judo and jiu-jitsu. And just imagine the position that you're in and the action that you're doing when you're like getting behind and you're like picking somebody up and like suplexing them. It is literally almost like a curl. It's the exact same movement, and obviously you can use like cleans or something like that to train your power and that triple extension, but obviously that's a lot more technical. And the reason that cheat curls can be a really good option for people is because they're just a lot easier to do, and you do have the drawback of people looking at you thinking that you're doing curls all wrong in the gym, but all you need to do is start shifting some serious weight and looking like a beast, and people or anyone with a sensible head on their head
What the fuck did I just hear?
will realise that you're doing it for a very specific reason, and a reason that is working. So doing 4 sets of 6 with cheat curls, and I will be building up to a heavy top set. And I think my all-time best, and this was like letting them go like really loose. It was like a pure power exercise with not much biceps. I think I got up to like 115, I think, something like that. So it'd be nice to get back up there again. And then we're going to finish with a bit more stricter bodybuilding style curls in the form of incline cable curls, which I always call incline cable curls, and I think there's another name for them, but you basically put yourself in the same position as you would on an incline, but just standing up. So that's why I call them that. I think some people call them bicentennial curls or something like that. 3 sets of 12 on these, keeping them stricter, volume high, and obviously that's going to make up the volume on my arms. And on the final push day, starting off with incline bench press, which I was doing on my last block, but unfortunately I couldn't see it all the way through because I've been having a bit kind of tightness and stuff around my collarbone area, and it's all kind of stemming from my trap. It's mostly cleared up now, so I'll hopefully be able to get back to heavy incline benching again and push the numbers on that. That's going to be the ascending sets of 3, followed by seated dumbbell shoulder press sets of 6. So once again, you can see that I have taken the focus of the last session, which was shoulder dominant with a secondary chest exercise, to now doing a chest dominant with a secondary shoulder exercise. So again, when you're making your programs up, it's not just about like, oh, what do I want to focus on in this session? It's like, right, okay, what do I focus on here, and how does that kind of work in with everything else that I'm doing? And this is how I'm being able to train basically all my muscles evenly and make them all equally strong and hopefully big.
Oh, behave.
And the end of this session is going to be tweaked a little bit, so we're going to be doing more isolation work rather than the heavy compound lifts, even the secondary exercises, and it's all going to be for slightly higher reps, so the weight's just kept a little bit lower, because obviously there's going to be a lot of poundage going through me in the other sessions. So finishing off with some dumbbell flies, some side lat raises, both of those 4 sets of 10, and then 3 sets of 12, hopefully JM Smith machine press, which I've tried to get into JM presses before. Some people rate them very highly, but I've just never been able to find a way to do them effectively and not kill my elbows. I'm going to try it on a Smith machine and see how I get on, and that would probably mark the first time in 14 years of lifting that I will have actually used a Smith machine for anything. And that's not an exaggeration, by the way. Maybe when I've been away on holiday I've used a Smith machine, but I've never actually had a Smith machine exercise in my proper program, like ever.
Ooh, you're hard.
That is a program in all its glory, and it is obviously free weight compound heavy, and that is because obviously, as I said, I want to still get stronger and make it transferable onto my BJJ. And also as well, the key thing you have to bear in mind is that obviously, and despite the recent drama where now 1 set's enough and volume's not actually kinging in, it was kinging in, intensity's king.
Nobody kills me. Nobody fucking kills me.
As usual, coaches having to be so absolutist, and this one way is the best and everything else is shite. And obviously when you're taking into consideration that this is to be for a bulk and gain a muscle, a lot of you look at this and think that that's not what you think a typical program for that would look like. And even if you take into account that, you know, you still want to focus on heavy compound lifts, you still would maybe think that there could be a little bit more volume and still, you know, doing a bit more kind of machine-based exercises and whatnot. But what you do have to remember is obviously it's still to be transferable over to my BJJ, and that's why, you know, I've avoided a lot of machine work and including as much kind of compound lifts as I can. Also as well, I'm fully well aware that this isn't a massive amount of volume, but what you have to bear in mind is that this is an increased amount of volume for me and where I've been recently. And for the last 2 years, I've been training 3 full body sessions a week, and it's all been almost exclusively lower reps. So this is actually going to be quite a bit of an increase of total volume, and like anything, you obviously need to break yourself in and get used to it and be able to perform at your best while doing it. But as I said, like, this is more for me and where I've been. So even if you don't think it's going to be the most conducive to growing X amount of muscle, if you look at the amount of muscle I've got just now doing what I was doing before, and I'm increasing it, then by all logic's sake, then it should at least help me improve from my position that I'm in just now. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because it's been an absolute bastard to film. It's been a bad session. Coaching inquiry form is linked below, and obviously if you aren't already following me on Instagram for all the daily updates on the bulk, make sure that you follow, and I'm away to be in a huff and dread editing this because I've made such a total arse off it. See you in the next one. Bye.